All right. Well, thank you for being here with us this morning. Thank you to the students. Very excited. We had pre-conversations, and I am just inspired by all of you. And so we're just going to start with introducing yourself and describe how are you involved in discovery at Cal, however you define that for yourself, and we'll kind of just go down the line.
Hi, my name is Miya Rosenthal. I'm a second year here studying media and public policy, and I worked on a documentary short fall of 2022 as part of my R1B here. I created a documentary short primarily about my grandmother's experiences during the first year of the Japanese-American internment, and my professor Pat is also here to talk later today. But that really opened up like a whole world of digital humanities for me, and being able to like self-produce my own project. Yeah.
Thanks. My name's Cooper. I am in my third year. I study astrophysics. I'm here to represent all of math and physical science. So, don't worry, we won't talk about math too much. But I do a bunch of different stuff, and you're welcome to ask me about any of it or none of it or whatever you like. I guess there's three things I would mention. I do research here on campus and up at the lab. I work with these awesome like simulations of the Big Bang and the evolution of the universe up until now, which I find really exciting. And I've gotten to publish my own research and fly around the world to present it, which has been awesome. I'm also a TA or a UGSI for our huge astronomy class, Astro C10. And I have the wonderful opportunity to work with students who don't necessarily have a huge background in math or in physics and kind of shepherd them through their exposure to this awesome field of astronomy that we get to work with. And third is I'm part of this Discover-funded student initiative called ULab, where those of us who are more experienced with research get to train and mentor students who are just getting their foot in the door. And this is lovely, and I would love to talk about this as much as you like. I'll try to keep it short, but we really have a blast training students in their first exposure, and it's a really incredible way that we can lower the barrier to entry into research.
Thank you.
Very cool. Hi, my name is Raksha. I'm a graduating senior in the School of Public Health, and my first exposure to discovery was I took an emeritized seminar class, and it was the coolest class I've ever taken. I absolutely loved it. It was with John Swartzberg. I don't know if any of you know him, but it was a really cool class, and it opened up this whole world of research to me, and it inspired me so much. It was a class on global vaccine hesitancy, and the very next semester I was like, I want to go abroad, and so I did a semester abroad in Botswana and did research there, which was super cool, and then came back, knew that was exactly what I wanted to do with my career, so emailed professors, and am now involved in a project based in Tanzania with a professor at the School of Public Health, which I'm absolutely loving.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
Wonderful. And I'm excited that we have such a range of disciplines here as well. We already went into this a little bit, but I want to dig a little bit more on, what was your journey into discovery and what or who supported you to get involved? We'll start with Miya again.
Okay. So I think being that my work really came out of a class, I think my professor was probably the biggest part of that, of creating a space that encouraged non-traditional projects and really creative projects, recommending resources. So one of the things was the Creative Discovery Project with the American Cultures Program to see other kind of multimedia student projects of how you can create something that's research-based that's not just a paper was really amazing, and just I guess encouraging me through all of the technical challenges, someone that didn't have a big background in editing or filming, that it didn't have to be perfect the first try, and it was really about just telling that story, and that was a lot of making mistakes, learning, sitting in coffee shops for hours with friends, just waiting for me to figure it out, refilming the audio, but yeah, worked out.
So I'm going to cite as the number one reason that I've been able to make it this far, the community that we have in Campbell Hall, the astronomy department, particularly the cosmologists. I started my freshman year attending these colloquia that we have every Tuesday where they serve lunch and they invite some speaker from some other institution to talk about galaxy formations or black holes or the Big Bang or something. And I just started going to these my freshman year and was so surprised how welcoming everyone was. There's this lovely community of researchers, of graduate students, of professors who took me in and who encouraged me to ask all of the really stupid questions that I had, and I kept doing it, and they kept responding in a positive way, and eventually my questions, stopped being quite as stupid. And through that community, I was able to make connections to people here on campus, up at Berkeley Lab, and at other institutions, and from those conversations that I had with those people, I was able to build up a project that felt like my own, and find funding for it, and be able to pursue this lovely research career for the past few years. But it's all thanks to the connections that I made from showing up and being invited into this community.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, man.
I am also in a similar path as Miya. It was definitely my professor who introduced me into this world, and the structure of the class that I took was very guest speaker heavy. So every week he'd bring in a different guest speaker to talk about their career, their path, how they were as an undergrad, and how they got their start in research. And what I would do is after the guest speakers would talk, I'd email them and I'd reach out, which was really scary because I don't usually do things like that. But they were so cool that I would email and reach out and say, can we talk? Can we do a Zoom? Can we get coffee sometime if they were based in Berkeley? And they're the ones that inspired me to pursue this career path, which, by the way, before this class, I didn't actually know if I wanted to pursue. But it was these guest speakers and talking to them and talking to my professor that really pushed me to pursue this. And he actually gave us the opportunity to present our research at the end of the semester to other emeriti, which is where I met Evelyn. So definitely super grateful to have been pushed to present my research and reach out to all of these guest speakers.
Oops, sorry. Wonderful. So, I want to talk about the impact of the work that you've done on you in your educational journey. So, how did being involved in Discovery impact your educational journey? And you started to kind of talk about that, but what's been the impact of getting involved in this kind of work?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think it really opened up a whole world of documentary work and digital humanities that I didn't really know existed, I think. I always loved watching documentaries, but the idea that I could be a part of creating my own was really novel. And following that, it's just been really kind of an explosion of opportunities that I didn't expect. I got an award from the Digital Humanities Future History Lab last year. I was able to travel to Baltimore in October to present my work at the Oral History Association's conference. Now doing things like this panel. I also last summer got the opportunity to work on another oral history project out of UC Irvine based on the women and children of the Black Panther Party. Which was always an interest of mine, but the idea that I could explore that and work with actual panthers was so exciting, and I never would have gotten to that place had I not done this project.
Interpret your question, and you can tell me
Yeah.
if that's wrong. But the career trajectory that I picture myself, doing over the next 10 years, 20 years, whatever you want, has totally changed. I don't know where I should even start, but in high school I thought I was going to be an engineer. I was good at engineering and I figured, I can make money doing that. But particularly getting the chance to teach, which is something that we really encourage in our department, being involved in teaching other students has been so rewarding for me and so much fun and so educational in forcing me to strengthen my own understanding, and so rewarding insofar as getting to see the impact that it has on other students who are being exposed to these exciting ideas for the first time. I'm totally hooked on it, and I can no longer picture a future for myself where I'm not doing that in some capacity 10 years from now, 20 years from now. I don't know where to end this answer, but for me it's been absolutely transformative in terms of where I see myself going. And I think that's really positive. I'm going to have a much better life thanks to being exposed to this kind of stuff.
Great.
Yeah, also a very similar discovery is what took me to sub-Saharan Africa for 6 months, which is someplace I never thought I would be. So that was really cool. Discovery is what, in my opinion, is allowed me to get into grad school, which I will be attending next semester as well, which I'm so excited about. UMich, anybody? University of Michigan? But very, very excited, and I definitely would not be in these places without the opportunities that Berkeley has given me, and the opportunities to pursue research and make mistakes and ask dumb questions, like you said, until eventually they're not so dumb anymore. I'm very, very grateful, and I don't think that I would have explored this career path as much as I have if it weren't for these initial opportunities, for sure.
So another version of this question connects to the theme today of student as curator. And so really thinking about like how do we support students to step into the role of curator, and how is students being in that role impact your own learning? And so my question is, what did you learn from stepping into the role of curator, being the leader, being a person who creates curriculum or creates a documentary or creates the research, being that person who has to kind of step into figuring out your own creative process for how to do your work. How did that impact you, or what did you learn from it is really the question.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think it's a lot of like self-discovery, like I said, of just making mistakes and figuring out what those even are, and then trying to figure out solutions to fix them. And it's really creating like an open-ended space where students are free to make those mistakes, and faculty's there to support them in whatever way they can. And also I think partially the idea that like for me that the project didn't have to be final, and that other people could still, having the public look at my work, I think was a really new thing of like, you're not just writing a research paper and turning it into like your professor and that's where the project ends. I've heard from like friends recently texting me that they watched my video in one of their other classes, which I didn't know was happening, but just the idea that like other people could see your work and be impacted by it, and even if I didn't think it was perfect, that there was still like a story to tell and a message to be heard. And just in terms of like all the technical skills that that doesn't always, I guess, have to be like the primary issue. That there's ways to overcome that, and just learn as you go.
That was a great answer. Ditto to all of that. Here's what I want to add. I've always had a challenge with feeling like I have to be perfect at something the first time I do it, or be the best at it, and that is not the approach that works for teaching. I will tell you straight up. So keeping my ego in check and be respectfully to myself, and being open to receiving feedback from students. Oh, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. Receiving feedback from students saying, I wish you would do it more like this. I really enjoy when you present things in this kind of manner, and I don't find it super helpful when you present them this way. And being open to receive that is really difficult. But once you let go of having to be perfect, you can make huge progress, and you can see how responsive the students are to you listening to them, and changing your ways and your methods has been absolutely transformative for me, and showed me a lot about creativity in general that I've taken to other work.
Agree with both of you guys. Stepping into the role of a creator as a student is terrifying. Like, for all the educators in the audience, just know, like, your students are terrified. It's very scary. My first time doing it, I spoke to my PI and I said, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm so sorry if I mess up. I have no clue what I'm going to be asked to do or how to do it. And she was like, we're all figuring it out. I don't know what I'm doing half the time either. And it was this process of being trusted with doing things like creating consent forms for a research project that will actually be used on like adolescent girls in Tanzania. Like, your work actually has an impact, and that's so scary. And being given that responsibility at such a young age as a student, I think is a lot sometimes, but I'm so grateful for it now because I know that I can do it. And now I know that when I go out into the real world, I do know how to make consent forms. I do know how to get a study IRB approved. I know how to do these things now. And I think that being a creator outside of the classroom is so important for every student to do at some point in their undergrad career, because it will prepare you so much more than just a lecture will or a discussion section will, which is why I love that we're doing this now, and I love that we're promoting discovery and trying to make it more accessible for other students, because it's just this invaluable experience to prepare students for their careers.
I couldn't have said it better myself, thank you. So I'm hearing themes of being trusted and the scary process of learning to take risks and be open to failure and learning from doing, and how that's only possible through these kinds of projects that allow you to step into the role of creator. So I think the final question is maybe a reflection, kind of wrapping up everything we've said. It's just, what did you discover? And this could be about yourself. It could be about the work that you did. It could be about your career goals, re-highlighting that. Or it could be how can you make an impact? Maybe you discovered that sense of like purpose as well. So however you define that, what did you discover? And we can go in any order.
Yeah, so I think even still, there's a lot of things, I want to do with my life in terms of like what my purpose is, but I think this project really helped me kind of like verbalize that as being able to use media as like a form of public education to drive socio-political and policy change. So going forward, I love documentary work and it's something I still want to explore, but also really right now focusing my career on political communications and policy in that sense of how to communicate with the public and share a story and narrative that means something, and that draws really like a voice for change. So that's like the work I'm doing right now around like economic justice with Robert Reich, what I'm hoping to do this summer, and just really how to share stories.
This is such a huge question. I don't even know where to start. Like, there's a literal answer, like, I'm trying to discover things about how the universe works, but I'm not going to talk about that. It's taught me so much about how I tick, what gets me out of bed in the morning, like being shown that firsthand, like, this is something that you're excited about. I'm literally happier when I'm engaging in these kinds of activities than when I'm not. Like, you can't put a dollar sign on that. Not to mention how to engage with those things. What mechanisms work for you? What mechanisms can you employ that are going to allow you to be productive, that are going to allow you to be creative? Those are two different things. How do you design your life in such a way that's going to allow you to be happy? Like, this is such a big question, man. I have like 2 minutes. But, can I summarize by saying it's invaluable and absolutely necessary? I think that's correct. As to how, I leave that to your imagination because I don't have all day.
Right? Yeah. What did I discover? I discovered what I want to do for the rest of my life, which I think is great. I'm very happy that Berkeley was able to give me that. I think that's the undergrad existential crisis question, is like, what am I doing after this? Where am I going? Like, what do I do? And I think that discovery is what helped me answer that question and be a little bit more at ease about what I want to do after college, which I think I'm so grateful for. What else did I discover? That I don't know much at all. That there's still so much more to learn. Discovery never stops. You will do it for the rest of your life. You will continue learning. And I'm so excited to keep learning and keep discovering.
Well, you're right. There's so much to this question, and that's just speaking to the potential of what is possible for undergrads when they get involved in this kind of work, and discovering your own potential and what you don't know, and being excited about your future instead of scared of it. Yeah, so I want to thank you all. Thank you, Miya, Cooper, and Raksha.